Details on Assassin's Creed Red's engine, base building, combat, and more. We've been waiting for it. Last week, we got a little update showcasing some of the stuff going to Assassin's Creed Infinity, which is like the hub that will run these games and where they'll be hosted. But Tom Henderson actually has some details with regard to the core game itself. Unless you've been living under a rock this past year or so, you'll know that Assassin's Creed Red is the next mainline Assassin's Creed title to release later this year. Officially, we don't know much apart from the game being set in feudal Japan and will be connected to the Infinity Hub, a central launcher for the Assassin's Creed franchise moving forward. On the other hand, leaks and reports have shed light on what to expect, including our own reporting that revealed the title will have two protagonists, Naoi and Yasuke. I don't really know how to pronounce names. I'm just going to go with it. Today, I wanted to dive a bit deeper into the gameplay mechanics and engine of Red because, frankly, it seems like it's being built for a new era of the franchise. You would kind of hope, because it's been a while. It's been a while. Technically speaking, the last full quadruple A Assassin's Creed game was in 2020 with Valhalla. Since then, we had Mirage. Mirage was good for what it was trying to be, but Mirage started in its pre-production phase as a DLC for Valhalla. It was worked with the same tool sets. It wasn't built to be like the next evolution of the franchise or anything. Certainly not with all the bells and whistles. So now we're actually seeing we're about to see the first full next generation Assassin's Creed game. To start, the Assassin's Creed franchise as a whole isn't moving to a new engine necessarily, but will be using a substantial evolution of it named the Anvil Pipeline. Sources explained that the Anvil Pipeline allows all of the various Assassin's Creed studios, of which there are many, thousands and thousands of employees, it allows them to work from one unified branch rather than having different versions and branches. The most means that moving forward, I'm not sure what that, maybe this means, I don't know. This means moving forward, Assassin's Creed will benefit visually from the lines of ray-traced global illumination and virtual geometry. The move to the Anvil Pipeline has meant that the teams have had to completely overhaul everything in the series too, including animations, its parkour system, dynamic weather, and more. Combat in Assassin's Creed Red was described to me as being somewhat similar to Valhalla, but featuring a lot more gore, including blood and decapitations. Stealth also plays a major role in Red, somewhat akin to Splinter Cell. The player can extinguish torches, hide in tall grass and bushes, and even go prone whenever they please. Love that. They're actually leaning into stealth in Assassin's Creed game. What is this stuff? What is this madness? It's crazy. Footage provided to Insider Gaming under the condition that the footage does not go public also showed a major evolution to the Valhalla settlement feature. In Red, players will be able to build their settlement in a big way named the Hideout. The Hideout is where the player will be able to build at their own will the likes of an armory, dojo, altar, and more. These buildings are customizable too, from being able to pick the building location to being able to choose your roof design to the interior layout and where you can display the likes of your weapons and armor. I love that. Where you can display the likes of your weapons and armor can be displayed. Overall, the Assassin's Creed Red or Assassin's Creed franchise is taking a gigantic leap, and our first glimpse will be with Assassin's Creed Red, which is set to be revealed in the coming months. I'm glad to hear that they're doing a lot of reworking. One of the things about Assassin's Creed, especially over the last three big games, Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, is that they all were kind of iterative improvements, at least that's what they were attempting to do, on each other. So the animation sets and free climbing stuff in Origins was just copied basically straight over to Odyssey. And then Odyssey was worked on and they added some new stuff, and their goal was to take some of that stuff and port it forward. But there were some things that would be left behind, some things that were just straight carbon copied, and other things that were improved in one game over the other. The most notable was like that Assassin's Creed Odyssey had the phenomenal like cinematic camera where even side quests, you talk to characters and you would get an actual cinematic camera with dynamic cinema camera placement, and it looked really, really good. It looked high production value akin to like The Witcher 3 or Red Dead 2. Like it was very, very well done. And then Valhalla just totally forgot about it. And part of the reason for that is because like you hear them in this this article described the different branches and stuff that they have to go through. And previously how it's worked is like, if they're developing the game, then they're usually doing this in tandem. So like if we say that this is Origins is being developed, let's just say here, and then it releases at X. They're developing, of course, Odyssey at the same time. So at some point, the tool sets are built for Origins and everything, and they're starting to work on that game, and they're getting closer to launch. But at some point, they have to kind of peel off and begin working on Odyssey. And then at some point, they then finish with this game, go over, and they peel off of Odyssey's tool sets and work on Valhalla. And so you always have this thing where like they're kind of hopping across each other, sharing some points of technological improvement, but like the cinematic camera in the game might have come like right here. And so Valhalla doesn't get that, even though Odyssey had it. And Odyssey released in, what was it, 2018, I think? Yeah, it would have been 2018. And then this was 2017 and then 2020. So even though it was 2 years before, Valhalla doesn't get that cinematic camera because they kind of split off with their tools before they reach that point. What Ubisoft is trying to do now, though, is they want to have just a straight line for all of these because they're using that Ubisoft Scalar tech. And the idea with the Scalar tech is that at any point, a game can be working and be developed and pulled off at any point and share. So even if you start work like at this point in time, you're not actually splitting off and using that tech and making your own and adding to it. You just kind of go along at the same path, but with the same exact tech involved, which is just a cool concept. And it's what a lot of these cloud tools allow game developers to do. And if you don't remember the Ubisoft Scalar stuff, it was vague enough that you couldn't really tell what they meant for it or meant with it. But it's like, this is how it was pitched, is that the engine and the different tools are each kind of a gear that's basically hosted in the cloud. So if the dev teams want to work on a couple of different projects at the same time, they can do that. If they have multiple teams working on the same game, they can do that because they all are using the same basically engine, but it's all hosted and built around the cloud, sharing all of the same builds and branches all at the same time, which is a much more efficient way of doing it and allows them to probably go bigger and better than they have gone before, which is super cool. So I'm interested to hear that they've redone like animation, they've redone combat. Probably they've redone NPCs and stuff. So hopefully not everybody looks like brother and sister, which has been a thing in Ubisoft games forever now, where every NPC, every main character, everybody always looks like a sibling. So that's going to be nice. And beyond that, it's like, I don't know about the base building. I don't know if that gets me really excited because to me, the Valhalla kind of hub or whatever you would call it, settlement, I guess, that system never really excited me that much. I know some people loved it, but to me it was always kind of like half-assed and never felt like it was fully fleshed out. But maybe this is going to be the fleshed out version. I'm not expecting it to be like a survival game where you just craft a castle yourself. It's probably a little bit more involved than Valhalla, but not totally reworked or totally reinvented. But at the very least, if it allows you to make the game a little bit more personal and maybe you can specialize in different things, that could be cool. But what excites me specifically are the leaks, specifically with regards to the reworked combat, the reworked stealth mechanics, trying to encourage people or players to like use the lighting systems. So you put out torches, and if you're in the darkness, you're harder to see. Other things like allowing you to go prone at any time, to actually crawl and stealth your way through levels. That's super cool. So I'm intrigued. The other thing that intrigues me is the fact that there are dual protagonists, one that's focused more on stealth and one that's focused more on melee combat. It's straight up Assassin's Creed Syndicate. And I thought that that was kind of interesting because it satisfied both players. Like if you were a player that wanted to just go in guns a-blazing or knives a-slashing, you could do that and have a good time. But they also had a character focused on stealth, and she gave you the chance to get that itch scratched. So you kind of had the best of both worlds without having to pretend that one player character was always doing both things all the time. I think that this has a lot of potential. I'm very excited to see it when they finally reveal it and everything. I think that's going to be awesome. And I am very hopeful that this is a banger, because after 3 years, they have the potential. I mean, Origins was 2017 and Syndicate was 2015. And they took 2016 off because they released the Assassin's Creed movie that year. And they thought that would kind of give Assassin's Creed fans enough of a scratch to the itch that they would be fine. Turns out the movie kind of sucked, but I don't even really remember much about it. I remember seeing it in the theater and just being like, it just wasn't very good. But beyond that, it's like they took 2 years to reinvent the franchise from Syndicate to Origins. And granted, the team that did Origins was the same team that did Black Flag. So they finished Black Flag, and then in like 2014 they started. So they spent basically 3 years reinventing the franchise. The team that's doing Red is the same team that did Odyssey and Immortals Phoenix Rising, to be fair, but that was a smaller team. So presumably they've been working on this reinvention for like 4 or 5 years. So this could be big. Like, this could be a huge reworking. That's my hope. That would be my hope. Because I just, one way to excite Assassin's Creed fans is to just show up and be like, yeah, it's an actual next gen version. It's crazy epic. Check it out. And if it's able to present itself really well, I think we could have a really interesting toss-up with like Ghost of Tsushima launching probably the year after. It could be super, super cool. He took my thing.